Welcome. Today's episode features Owen Beiny, who was born and raised in London, England, and now resides in LA. He spent a large chunk of his life in the paparazzi and entertainment news industry, chasing celebrity and getting world-famous shots that are still widely circulated. After his industry faced massive change with the rise of social media and celebrities taking exposure into their own hands, combined with the ending of his marriage, Owen was faced with no choice but to make a complete change in every sense. One thing he always loved doing was traveling and seeing the world. He had seemingly hacked the system and found ways to do it for cheap or even free. He wanted to help others do the same, and thus, thepointspartner.com was born. Owen now helps people get on beds, on planes for free. Through his online courses, social media, and inner circle membership, he's garnered a large, loyal audience and has taken the world by storm. He's also my ex-husband. Today we'll discuss his journey, successes, failures, and wins, and get intimate about our marriage, divorce, co-parenting, and subsequent healing. I hope you enjoy. Welcome to the show, Owen.
This is very exciting. This is just like being married to you, but a little bit different, and with cameras and microphones.
Good. I hope so, because I think that being married to me is probably amazing, and that's how I'm hoping today's going to go.
I'm assuming that's not a question.
Right? No, it's not.
Okay. Nice rhetorical one.
Talk to my audience. Tell us a little bit about your early life. Give some color. What brought you to today? Your family, where are you from, where you grew up, what were you like as a kid?
It was a cold, dark night.
And the breast milk was...
Really? Okay, so born and raised on the streets of northwest London, England. I came from a quote-unquote upper middle class Jewish family. I spent 26 years running around like a headless chicken in London, doing everything under the sun, from personal training through to being in the Israeli army, through to traveling, working, etc. Ended up working for my dad, eventually into the family business, which was a paparazzi, red carpet, celebrity news and photo agency, of which I was in charge of specifically the paparazzi department, which is where the big money was. It was where the excitement was. And for many years, I was, I guess, the equivalent of a crappy James Bond. I would fly around the world chasing celebrities. Didn't always get laid at the end of the night, but got away with it the majority of the time. Made some money, had some fun, got into some trouble. And that was my life as I knew it. It was always on a plane traveling around. And that's what brought me here to the States. Originally, it was during the initial breakdown of Britney Spears. I got sent out to Los Angeles to cover, quote unquote, her breakdown. And it was, at the time, we didn't know how long it was going to last. It was going to be a cheeky week or two's work in LA. That didn't happen. And it just dragged on, and she was clearly unwell, and it just went on and on. Before I knew it, I was spending the majority of my time in LA than I was in London. And then it wasn't just Britney Spears. It was Nicole Richie, Kim Kardashian, Paris Hilton, and it just never ended. And I was living this crazy life of flying backwards and forwards between LA and London pretty much every 2 or 3 weeks.
That's like during the time I met you.
And I was just about to say, and then enter Adel.
I remember even like, because we met on a Friday night at like a Shabbat dinner, and I like, you know, we exchanged information. You're like, oh, I'm getting on a plane, you know, I'm going back to London. I'm not going to be in LA. You know, if we talk, we talk. Like you were in that phase.
I don't know if you remember, but the night that we met, I literally had landed from London,
Yes.
opened up my phone, and was invited to have dinner.
Yeah, and I think you were
you.
sick.
Yeah, and I was too
Or
tired.
yeah.
I said I didn't want to come, and they said, oh, there's some cute girls in from the East Coast. I'm like, I'll have some of that for breakfast.
Said cute girl.
Said cute girl. And that's how we met, and the rest is history. And then a whole lifetime of us being married and having kids, and you know, divorces, and then more flying around, and it's just never ended. And I think you and I are in a really fortunate space that we came from those different locations and met, and now it makes it all that much easier that we're both still doing that, kind of with each other, without each other, with kids, with it, without kids, with new partners. It's one moving beast, and that kind of leads into what I do now, but we'll come back to that in a minute.
Yeah.
So that was how I ended up here, and then enter you, and it was really and all seemed well for a few years. We were married. And we had Lila, and I was busy with work. And I think women, and this is going to sound very brash saying this, and then I'll rein it back in. Women are complex. They have lots of different feelings and aims and objectives, and things change and the way they feel and what they want to do. Men, for the most part, not every man, I can't speak for them all, but the majority of guys are very, very simple. In their life, they've got kind of work, and then they've got women or their wife or girlfriend.
Yeah.
It's very, very like granular, right? It's
Right.
like those two things. And I had this awesome job and business, and I was earning good money, and I had you, which was awesome. And then overnight, both were taken away.
Okay,
Pause.
you know what? No, you know what? Fine, go into it. I'm gonna do my questions out of sequential order because that was one of my things. Go. Sorry, I
Okay.
shouldn't have even cut you off. Go.
And
Overnight, every single thing.
overnight, the industry had changed. Cameras had got to the point where anyone could take pictures. And there's this famous story, which I'm sure people who've Googled me have heard me talk about this many times. It all came down to this one day where I shot a picture of a celebrity, not my team, I did, that was worth easily $600,000-$700,000. And instead, somebody saw me taking a picture, took their iPhone, took a picture, sent it into TMZ, and TMZ bought it for $10, and I lost out on over $500,000 easily.
Which picture? Not the Surrey cruise.
It's Amanda Bynes asleep on the couch in the Beverly Center.
Oh my God! And nothing's changed.
She was
'Cause
homeless.
she's-
Yeah. And by the way,
And same with Britney.
I was about to say, same with Britney as well. Nothing's changed. So, and that was famously the day that I said, I'm done. Like, I'm out of the business. There's no more money left in paparazzi and what we were doing.
So just explain to people really quick, give them a little bit, because I mean, the paparazzi industry was so hot and so high pressure, high intensity. It was a very sexy job. I know it's changed, but like it was so cool. Your job was cool. Your life was very cool. But explain to people, like what the paparazzi industry and your job entailed, and like why suddenly there was a huge shift where the power shifted from the paparazzi to the celebrities themselves.
In order to know where we are, we need to know where we've come from. I used to get up in the morning next to you and chuck on my camera bag and go drive around West Hollywood looking for celebrities with my team. And when we found one, we'd take pictures, edit them, and send them.
Yeah.
And we would make
Kings Road Cafe.
We would make tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And eventually there was so much heat on what we were doing. It was around the time that TMZ came out, actually. They started promoting not just the celebrities and the stories, but the industry. They were saying, oh, look at these camera guys, how much money they're making.
Right.
And everyone flocked to the industry. And it used to be me hiding 75 feet from a celebrity behind tinted windows with a long lens.
That's right.
And then it evolved to 75 people with short lenses standing in front of restaurants and upsetting celebrities and the general, public. And that's when I knew that it was heading in the wrong direction. And then technology caught up. The cameras got better, bigger, faster, and the flashes got louder and brighter. And I called it. I called it 10 years before it happened. And I said, it's time for me to exit. And I said to my dad, I need to find a way out. We've been doing this 20 years. It's been great. I've earned tons of money. I've flown around the world. I've hung out with celebrities. I've had all these experiences, but you've got to know when to call it quits. And it was calling it quits time. And the money was dying out. We were finding it hard to pay staff. Everything was a stretch.
Okay.
And it was at that time, and it was misfortunate timing. It was the same time that yours and my marriage ended. And I essentially lost everything overnight. And this is someone who all I'd ever done was win.
Yeah.
All I ever did was win. I have won everything ever with everyone, with every person in every place. I always got the hottest women, got the best jobs, went to the coolest places, got the free upgrade. All I did was win, and I didn't just lose once. I lost everything and immediately at the same time.
Like that movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once, but just shit and for your life.
Yes. Exactly that.
Sorry, it's not.
And that period of time was obviously the hardest period of time of my life. And I could, and I eventually one day will help many other people in that position by telling people what I learned, how I dealt with it, and how you move forward. But fundamentally, when you're put in a corner,
I was going to ask you that today.
well, and we can go there.
Okay.
I don't know if I brought enough tissues with me, but we can go there.
Oh, then my producer loves when there's tears.
Really?
Yo, he gets off on it, I think.
All right. Interesting. Fundamentally, when you're put in that position, you either fight or flight. And I found out who I was, and the answer was both. I will fight for other people's flights. And I'm
Oh, okay.
Cha-cha-ching-ching. So that was, it wasn't immediately. There was 2 or 3 years of absolute hell.
Would you say you did that classic thing? And like, I speak for myself because I know I did. But like that classic, like drinking, smoking, partying, distracting it away.
Yeah, I tried everything. I tried starving myself, stuffing myself, drinking, drugs, sex, violence, gambling. I tried one of everything to distract myself from the upset and hurt, depression, and soul-crushing things that had happened to me.
Do you think that you were destroyed because of like losing me and like, but like because you love me so much, or do you think you just didn't like to lose?
I think my answer then and my answer now are different. I think, listen, there's no question. I loved you to death, and I loved my job and my work to death.
Yeah.
And just the sheer loss of that would have crushed me already.
Right.
But the fact that I'd never lost before, I had no idea how to deal with loss. They don't teach loss in school.
No, they really don't.
And there are a lot of people that get crapped on a lot, and they get very used to it, and they're good with it.
Right.
I have zero experience at losing.
Right.
All
Or
I've
you
ever done is
had,
win.
right.
So I had no idea how to deal with it mentally, physically, emotionally, sexually, financially. I had no clue. And unfortunately or fortunately, I'm a powerhouse. I don't mess around. I stab people for breakfast and I go on for brunch. So you're talking about a guy who he's got an ego. All he's ever done is win, and he's very powerful. And then you take it all away, it's going to get ugly.
The people might have ascertained at this stage that there is ego involved.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Looking back on it now, you were a lot more emotionally mature than I was. And there is nothing wrong with you saying, we're just not supposed to be together. We want different things. We look at life a different way. We achieve things in different styles. There'll always be parts of you and I that are amazing, unstoppable, unbreakable, and are beautiful.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean we should be married and fight all together all day long every day.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is since we've been divorced, and we can talk more about the divorce, we can talk more about how we co-parent and all those things. Happy to do all that. But what's interesting is that naturally we've both matured a lot and gone off in our separate directions at the same time together. And it really speaks to who we both were. You've obviously gone off in a I guess, a design, I don't know how you use the wording in the direction that you've gone.
Well, I'm like I would say like I'm in the aesthetic space,
Aesthet-
but mostly I consider myself like a lifestyle brand.
Right, but lifestyle, aesthetics, design, all those things.
Yeah.
That's the direction that you've gone in, which is naturally your strong suit.
Right.
And what's interesting is that I've ended up going essentially into financial literacy.
That's right.
Numbers, math, but the sexiest version of it.
Right.
Which is, I had to find myself. And I was being a paparazzi warlord was a lot of fun. It was a lot of drama, a lot of fun, very sexy, very fast paced. But that wasn't who I was. That was just the company that you can put me in any company, I'll go to war.
Right.
But I had to find myself, and it took me many years. And now I have found myself, and I'm thriving.
I really love to hear that. I mean, it's like I wanted to ask you about like how does one go, like, or how, and maybe you could shed some light on what people could do when they feel like they're because there was no way you could return to your current industry. You didn't know what was next for you. I mean, there was a while where you were turning wood in your garage. You really didn't know what was next. Is there like what happened for you, and two, like, can you give some advice to people who don't know what's next? What is my calling? What should I do?
So I'm not, a lot of people assume that I'm a very successful entrepreneur. I am not. I am a forstrepreneur. I was forced to become an entrepreneur. Okay.
Okay.
My whole life, all I'd done is work with my dad and was cameras and paparazzi. There was nowhere left in that space for me to go. I was at the top and there was no money at the top. So I was essentially at the age of, I don't know, however old I was, 35-ish. I can't even remember. I found myself on the wrong side of the world, a single dad to a 3-year-old, heartbroken, broke, with a mortgage I couldn't pay, dealing with the depression and stress of a divorce and co-parenting. And I can't go back home. There is no going back because of the way that, you know, the fact that we share a daughter, we live in Los Angeles. So it was, you need to, out of nowhere, at the age of 35 and no skill set, and no degree and no backup plan, come up with something and make money. Your time, and it has to be multiple 6 figures a year. Your time starts now. That was where I found myself. It was the scariest. It's making me emotional just talking about it. The fear that I had, it was still now, it overwhelms me, even though I'm doing great and that's not an issue anymore. It's overwhelming, the fear. I'm shaking right now just telling you how I felt back then.
I don't think I realized that you were so young. I sort of, because you were always older than me, I always assumed you were like, I just saw you as like an older guy who would figure it out, but I didn't realize like you're 35. That's how old you were when we separated?
Well, I'm 43 now, and that was about 7, 8, 9 years ago-ish. So
How long have we been
yes,
separated?
I was 35.
Oh my God.
Well, Lila's now 10, and she was 3, so that's 7.5 years ago, which would put me right around 35, 36.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay,
So looking back on it now, and also, you know, women mature faster than men. I was 35 years old, but I was a 25-year-old in my head,
right,
with just too much money and ego. So that's where I found myself. Now, I've learned an awful lot through my force-entrepreneurial journey. Okay. And I'm very pleased to say that, you know, be it for better or worse, at this point now, I've created not only a business, but I've created a community.
yeah.
I've quote unquote gone viral. I have a membership paying community of thousands of people around America, and I'm putting people on beds on planes for free. And we'll talk a bit more about I'm happy to talk about work as well. But I want to talk about it from an entrepreneurial perspective. What have I learned? Here's the number one thing that I think your following or your listeners community can take. Everyone is trying to get paid. Everyone wants dollars. Got that. The number one advice I would give to any new person that doesn't know what direction to go in is stop trying to get paid. What you should be trying to do is solve somebody's problem or bring value to somebody in some way, be that through a product or a service or both. And if you focus on that and that alone, you've got an opportunity that potentially you will get paid. If you start with, how can I get somebody to give me money? You've failed already.
Right.
You've got to be passionate about what you do. Every single millionaire, billionaire, and successful entrepreneur that has ever been interviewed has been asked the same question: how do others do it? And the only thing that they all have in common is one word, which is passion. They all say you have to be passionate. Do you know why they say you have to be passionate?
Because work fucking sucks.
Well, there's that.
So you need to like really care about it.
You've kind of tapped into it, but I'm gonna unlock it for you, which is, it is going to be, you're going to have to give your blood, sweat, tears, heartache, money, sacrifice. You're going to have to give everything to even have a hope of making it.
Yep.
So if you don't feel passionately about it, you'll never do those things, and therefore you won't. So if you're passionate about somebody paying you, which is what I've been my whole life, until I became the points partner,
okay,
you will ultimately always be beaten by somebody who's passionate about it as well.
Right. More passionate.
Right. Yeah. So my starting point was, I was desperate for money at the time, and I was like, okay, I can't do what I've always done. What can I do? What value have I got? Well, I've always had a big personality. and I can answer anyone's question, whether I know the answer or not.
Right.
So there was like an element of like,
Showmanship
that I could lean into. But let's be fair, I live in Los Angeles, Hollywood, California. There's a dime a dozen of people with a personality.
Right.
So I'm like that. I'm not going to suddenly pick up a job overnight of being a TV presenter.
Right.
So that kind of had to go on the sidelines. And the only other thing that I kind of knew about and was passionate about or had a hobby for was credit card points. I've spent my whole life traveling. I love getting, I'm a Jew at heart, and I love getting stuff for free or cheap. And which is probably one of the fundamental reasons that you and I are not married anymore.
Right.
And we're going to talk about that as well, because you and I have both got to really not be married to each other now, and you get to spend lots of money if you want to, and I get to save loads of money, which is even better.
Yeah.
Like, look how happy we both are.
Yeah.
Both doing financially what suits us best, not having to fight over whether we get branded Heinz ketchup in the supermarket or the store brand.
That was one of our
biggest fights ever.
And biggest fights was I wanted to buy brand name Reynolds.
Yep.
Tinfoil, Heinz ketchup, and you were like, why not just buy the Ralph's, the Kroger brand, because it was cheaper? And I was like, because it's not the name brand.
Yeah, and that fundamentally describes who we are. And now we have an opportunity to really smile and enjoy the other one living out what makes them happy.
Yeah.
I love seeing you with all your schmutz, because it makes you happy. Look how happy, and I don't have to pay for it. This is great. And you, I would like to think that you get some nachas, right? Some Mexican snacks out of seeing me getting on beds on planes for free, and not only that, but helping other people doing it and getting paid for it.
You created like this whole persona shtick, which I think you always excelled at, like the shtick persona. Like you had shtick, like even all the one-liners that you've dropped just in the 20 minutes we've been recording.
Yeah.
But so it is good for me to see that you've taken like your skill of shtick and persona and turned it into an enterprise. So tell people a little bit about, so you are now thepointspartner.com. What is the Points Partner? What do you do for people? What's the service you provide?
Yeah. So I am known as the Points Partner. And what I do is I help individuals and businesses maximize their credit card benefits. And I help people get as many credit card points and air miles as is mathematically possible for their lifestyle. And then I teach people how to use those points efficiently. In other words, I put people on beds, on planes for free. That is what I do for a living.
Right.
My website, thepointspartner.com, is now the #1 independent website in America for credit card applications and, more importantly, approvals of those applications.
Serious?
Yeah. I now do a lot of public speaking. So in particular, I have a regular spot now on Good Morning America, ABC, NBC.
Oh my God.
And I do a lot of like private community Zoom calls, and I still run Clubhouse. Clubhouse was I owe so much to Clubhouse.
Thank God for Clubhouse in the pandemic.
Yeah, and then because of all of that, it then spilt across to Instagram. And, I have tons of followers on Instagram, and that led into TikTok, which became Clapper, which became Lemonade, and it just keeps going, right?
Yes.
So that's kind of the starting point. Then I have I'm most famously known in Los Angeles, New York, and Miami for my quote-unquote life-changing consultations.
You've been having a lot of quotes.
Right, but there's a lot to quote.
Right, quote-unquote. Life-changing
consultation. So you can go on my website, you can book a consultation with me. The way it works is you send me your credit card statements, I do a bunch of math, send you back a summary telling you how much free travel I can get you, and it explains it mathematically.
Okay.
And then you book in for a session, and in an hour and a half to 2 hours, I can literally change your financial literacy path and get you beds on planes for free to the tune of X amount, whatever's relevant to you. That's how it started. Then I got told that I was too expensive for your average American. Maybe not so much for the big cities,
right,
but for middle America.
Okay.
So I created an online course, which is called the Fly Free Academy. It's an online course that you can sit and binge watch like Netflix in 6 hours. And that will tell you everything you need to know to go and do it on your own. And there's links in there and downloads and everything you'll ever need to get yourself on beds on planes for free. Well, that went just uber viral. And now there's an affiliate program. So people that join my Fly Free Academy are making money from sending it to their friends. And the whole thing is just kind of scaled. Then I'm going back 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Then everyone was coming back to me with their hands out saying the academy was amazing. We're on Beds on Planes for free. We want more.
Right.
So then I came up with
what's after Beds on Planes? Like, what's the next
I'll tell
thing?
you, I came up with the next thing, which is the inner circle, which is my private community, which is a much more smaller group. Right now, I think there's about 160 people.
Okay.
And we meet twice a month for a 2-hour Zoom call where I do advanced stuff. I'm talking
Black belt.
I'm talking black belt ninja Beds on Planes for free. And I talk a lot about stuff that I wouldn't necessarily say publicly.
Okay.
Not that I'm cheating or breaking any rules or anything like that, but some of the grey areas that I work in, if they were publicized, they'd stop
oversaturated.
It would get oversaturated.
Yeah.
So I have an elite crowd now. So I do 2 hours twice a month. And then that now has become a community. So we have a private Facebook group where people are handing out upgrades to each other and all sorts of cool stuff.
God.
It's going on 24 hours a day. So then there's the inner circle. Now there's meetups. And of course, everyone's flying for free. So everyone's meeting up in New York this week, LA next week.
I personally hate it, and I'll tell you why. Because all the seats in the business class now are probably your freaking disciples.
That's an absolute slam dunk as far as I'm concerned.
Hate it.
Yeah.
Because I liked when business class was empty.
Right. Not anymore. And
you know when you put you post on your Instagram, you put like the numbers of like how much you
people paid.
I'm the schmuck with like
yeah. But you know what, this ties in so nicely with our divorce. Because we get to both go on Beds on Planes.
Yeah.
You get to pay a fortune for it and you're comfortable with that, and I get to pay nothing and I'm comfortable with that. It's a win.
I just like don't know, and this actually leads into my next question. Like I never was math. For me, it feels like it's so overwhelming and daunting. It's so much information, and it feels like math, and I avoid math at all costs. I can't deal with math. I don't want to know. So I guess you do offer a service anyway where you could do it for people, correct?
So I haven't even got through all the stuff that I do yet. So that's the inner circle. Then that became a whole community, has its own merch line and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Then I still have for those that don't want to do a consultation, that don't have the money or the time, for people like you that don't want to watch an online course and it feels like math. I am essentially a free travel agent. So you can earn points on your own credit card, come to me and say, send me and the kids, we're going to Paris, Bora Bora, wherever it is you're going, and I will, or my member of my team, will work it all out and book you for it, and we just charge you for our time to do that.
Okay.
That is probably one of the fastest growing parts of my business. I now have a lot of people every day, people that don't want to deal with understanding, learning. They just want a free vacation.
That's me.
But understand the difference between me selling you a fishing rod and selling you fish.
Yeah.
If you come to me every time you want to go on vacation, you're buying fish from me, 3 times a year. If you do the consultation or you watch my online course, you've bought a fishing rod for your own free travel. You can go do it yourself. But I serve everyone, regardless of their ethnicity, the amount they earn, the amount they spend, whatever it is that anyone wants, with regards to the sexy side of financial literacy, which is your credit profile, your credit score, credit cards, points, air miles, airports, global entry, pre-check, clear, lounges on airports and beds on planes. I got you.
Damn, Gina. That was very well l'chaim. Amazing. Every part of me wants to be like, do you regret that you didn't start this earlier? Like when I lived with you, I saw you through like the hardest times of early mornings and late nights and car chases, and you ended up in jail once, and the absolute stress that like ate your insides alive and like gave you like colitis and like all this shit.
Yeah.
And now you've like completely turned your life into something that like...
Yeah. I don't wish I'd started earlier. I don't regret a single moment of my life. I've loved every moment of it. I've also hated every moment of it, but I've learned from it all. People always say like every cloud has a silver lining, and you don't realize you'll learn so much from this, and they're so true. It's so true. Like I don't regret anything. I don't think if I would have started this 15, 20 years ago, that I would be where I am. My mentality, my drive, my persona, my aims, objectives, everything is different.
Yeah, and what drives you even?
Yeah, and I feel the same about our marriage and our divorce. I don't think I would be where I am now in my view of relationships if it wasn't for our marriage and its failure.
In what regard?
I think that up until meeting you, I was an F-boy. Like, I just ran around, got laid as much as I could, and if it was fun, then I turned that into a relationship. And now I don't look at it like that. I look at it very differently. I also look at parts of, I didn't realize until even a couple of years after you left that I've just been codependent my whole life, and with no reason. I loved sharing my entire life with one other person, and if it was before you, it was my next door neighbor, and even after you, there's been other male relationships I've had, not sexual ones, but friends.
Right.
That I just do everything with them all day long, every day. I love sharing. I'm a very social person. I love having love and warmth around me and people.
Do you not think that there's an element to it that's not just about loving people, that there is a codependency that goes deeper than just like the love of people? Because you really struggle with being alone.
Used to.
Oh.
And in fact, now, for the first time ever, I value my alone time. First time ever in my life. It's only been the last 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
I really do. And in that regard, I now don't need a partner. I choose to have one for lots of reasons. And even then, my current partner lives in New York.
Same.
And I'd noticed
We have that in common.
I had noticed that. A lot of people, I get a lot of DMs from people. Both of us have a following for different reasons in different ways. Community.
I don't like saying following.
Okay.
Because following insinuates that people are followers. You could have a lot of independent, free thinkers who are leaders in their own right that are follow your account, but they're not followers.
Well,
they're
the difference,
members.
a member of your community, there is engagement both ways.
Yeah.
If somebody follows you and you don't talk or bring value to them, then they're just a follower. And the reason that I would make that determination is that notice you don't get as many likes or comments for the amount of compared to the following you've got. A lot of people just want to watch, and they don't like you.
That's true.
But they do want to watch you,
of course.
Which means that they either are frustrated, jealous, or a competition, or there's lots of reasons.
Well, some people are just voyeuristic. Like, they don't want to be. They don't hate. It's not a hate follow, but they just don't. They don't want to be involved.
Well, you can soon find out if should you want to, right? You can soon find out who is a member of your community and who's a follower, because when you start charging people to be a part of a membership, and it can be a subscription on Instagram.
I'm too afraid to find that out.
Right. Well, I found out, and I'm very.
Well, was it 160?
Well, that's the
100,000.
Well, that's the inner circle.
Right.
My course is many thousands.
Right, but those people might not even be following you. Those are just people across the country.
That's also true, yeah. But what I'm saying is that fundamentally is that people follow to see what's going on. I follow people that you'd be like, why are you following them? I follow this one Irish 23-year-old girl who plays video games in Ireland. Now, let me just clarify this to you. I've never even been to Ireland, and I'm a world traveller, okay? I have a girlfriend, and this woman is not attractive.
Oh my God, that's not necessary.
Wait, it is. Wait for it.
Okay.
And I don't play video games. I don't even have a video games console.
Right.
But I'm obsessed with watching this one girl.
Yeah.
Because I find it interesting.
Yeah.
I also don't wear a watch. I've never worn a watch or any jewelry my whole life. And I'm obsessed with watching Rolex negotiations in Manhattan on TikTok. The people follow things that they can't have in their own life, or it's interesting because they've never been around it.
Yeah.
There is someone somewhere who follows you because they are fascinated with the fact that you have 2 kids that live in 2 different places, and you're on planes, and your ex-one's flying there. It's fascinating because they don't do that.
Yeah.
And that's the same reason that I got into wood turning, and the same reason that I follow some Irish girl who plays video games. It's like, it's being able to entertain you, not from your choice. It's just being a menu in front of you, and you picking something you've never had before.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've gone off on a tangent.
No, yeah. Although, yeah, it's so interesting. Just on that topic, like, I'm so jealous of people that have like such a niche community. Like, your community is following you, and involved with you because they're interested in getting on beds on planes for free. I haven't niched down in that way. And I have this other thing where like my community is so different than me. Most people, if you look at like your Tinks or your Remy Baders or your girls, your whatever, sports players, everyone's following them because they love sports. Everyone's following them because they do. My audience is completely different to me. They're all predominantly almost largely Orthodox women. I'm not Orthodox. I have no similarities with my community. Sometimes I wonder if like I have no idea why these people are here.
I actually couldn't disagree with you more.
Really?
I'm so pleased with divorce right now. No, here's why. I think that you live out the fantasy of many women in the Orthodox community that don't have the balls or gumption to become an ex for me.
Well, okay, I'm going to respectfully push back in just that. I don't know if I don't think these women all want to be non-religious.
Hang on one sec. Okay. I was just about to say, that represents some of them.
Okay.
The rest of them are just curious what it would look like.
Right.
And that's okay.
So you think predominantly my audience, my community is here because they're watching what was their life and what now is not their life and what it could look like.
I think that you have been proactive in following an unorthodox path, and there are lots and lots of religious girls that would always wonder what it would be like if they just left and did their own thing and they weren't religious anymore. I think a chunk of them, I don't know how big, that's them. The rest of them are totally fine with their life and think that you have gone off the derech and are just watching the car crash.
A new direction.
Yeah, a new direction. and that's okay. And It's okay for those to be jealous and who didn't make that jump. And it's okay for those that kind of feel bad for you because you went off the derech.
I need a niche down. I really need a niche down. I got to put people on beds on planes for free.
Right.
You know what? I'm going to put people on beds on planes for a lot of money. I'll be like your sure thing. All right. So just real quick, and then we'll close up the points conversation with a bow. You get gun to your head, 1 minute pitch. What's something like points for dummies that, like, if someone doesn't know anything, they're totally new to this concept, one tidbit nugget that you think everyone should know, like where to start, how to, like, thinking about their points, what's one like golden nugget?
Yeah, I'll tell you that there's 2 or 3 really obvious things that in an opening points conversation you should be aware of. Number 1, credit card points are worth up to 8 times the amount of air miles and cashback. So for lots of people say, oh, I don't want to do points and miles, just give me the cashback.
Right.
Assuming that it's the same value. It's not.
Okay. That's
why the points is where the juice is, right? That's the number 1 thing. Number 2, picking the right credit card for your life is the most important thing.
That's right.
And look at where you spend your money. Do you spend it on food, drink, gas, travel, marketing, office supplies? Where do you spend your money? Go on my website, pick a card that's going to get the one that gives you the most points for every dollar spent in that type of spend. It's not how much you spend. It's using the right card for the right type of spend.
Okay.
That's number 2. And lastly, and this is the big one,
okay.
People think that when you have points, you go into your American Express or your Citibank or your Capital One and you click on travel and you use your points there. No. Your points are worth 10 times that amount by transferring them out of the credit card companies and into airlines' frequent flyer programs at the right time. And the nuance, the detail of that is what I teach. When to do it, how to search, how to book, when to do these things, where to sit on the plane. All of the detail makes a difference. I'll simplify it like this. If you had 100,000 points sitting in your American Express account, for example, if you use that in American Express, that's worth $1,000 of free travel. I consistently will get $7,000 to $10,000 worth of free travel out of the same amount of points.
Oh my God.
Understanding what to do with them, when to do it, literally 10x's the value. And the nuance and detail of that is what I educate people.
You'll have to check out thepointspartner.com.
Yes. And by the way, any of you following, you can start watching my course for free. You don't have to pay anything. So just go to my website and click on free course.
Okay.
You can watch the first hour and a half of my course. You don't have to put your credit card information in, nothing. Start watching my weird old British accent. And if it's a voice that you can resonate with and I can teach you, go ahead. There's a full money back guarantee. If you
See,
don't
that
like
was
the
a
course.
voice I couldn't.
Right. There you go. There you go. And I gave you your money back. There you go.
I'm just joking, of course. Why do you think we're so good at divorce? Why do you think most people suck at it? What's our secret sauce?
It's a great question.
Because let's look at the sum total of everyone we know that's divorced.
You and I are the only ones.
We're the only ones who get
the only
along.
one. Okay. So I
have a couple friends. Very few. One hand.
Right.
What's the deal?
I must have lost those friends in the divorce. Okay. I don't think there's one answer to this, but here's a few ideas. Number one is you and I are both so powerful that if we don't get along, I feel bad for the...
It's like Russia and China.
Yeah, it's like, exactly.
We're Russia and China.
We are Russia and
Can
China.
I be Russia?
I think you already look a little bit Russian.
Okay, good.
So I'll go Chinese.
Yeah.
That's the number one thing, is that you and I are so explosive and powerful that we both fear each other, because if we really piss off the other one, it's going to be ugly for everyone.
That's true.
And I think that it's kind of like nukes. It's
like we literally cancel each other out because we're both so explosive.
It's the fear of one of us letting off a nuke.
Yeah.
Which we're both more than happy to do.
I actually feel like I'm not so like maybe in my old self. You feel like my new self is very.
And the same with me also, right? We've both matured a lot. That's number one. Number two is, and we've spoken about this before, is both of us acknowledge that our love for the kids is just so much greater than we both hate each other. And it's like your relationship divorced and married is the same, which is some days you love each other and sometimes you hate each other.
That's true.
The difference is that the trust is gone when you're divorced. And that hasn't changed. Like, I don't trust you as much as I did when we were married, but I also don't need to.
Right.
And I do trust that you love the kids. Yeah. And you definitely feel the same. So it's about picking your battles. Like, yeah, we still squabble, we still fight, right?
People should definitely know that we still 100% and fight.
Listen,
I do think we get over it quicker.
Yeah, I always say to people, like, I don't know why we even bother getting divorced. We still fight and we still don't have sex. Nothing's changed. There's no value in getting divorced. So
this episode is 100% going to have explicit on it. Okay, yeah, continue.
Number one, whenever I'm annoyed with you or you're annoyed with me, it's not saying it's your fault or it's my fault. Life gets in the way. I always take a deep breath and I say to myself, is whatever it is that I want to go to war with you about more valuable than potentially losing half of my time with Lila? The answer is always going to be no.
Right.
So unless it's something I feel really, really strongly about, I tend to just say yes to everything.
But you have lately. I mean, in the last couple of years.
Right.
The thing is, like, I want to say that most couples love their kids more than they hate each other. Or would you say no?
I can't speak for other people.
Because like I would say like most people, if you interviewed a bunch of divorced people, they say no, we love our kids, but they're not making it work.
I can tell you, we had another advantage, which you are owed credit for this, which was we got divorced without lawyers and fighting over assets.
Yeah.
And your following should know that when you left, you didn't ask for anything. I don't know if you want to go into that or not. But the fact that we didn't have to fight in court and the fact that I didn't have to fight.
Well, we could get into it. When you were very young, you took you worked your ass off. You bought yourself an investment property in Primrose Hill above a Starbucks in a beautiful neighborhood. And that apartment increased in value exponentially. And you were able to purchase our house in LA at almost put 50% down. Remember? Like so the way I saw it was, and I know we were married, I know we built a life, I know we had a kid, but it was undeniable that house was purchased with the money that you worked for your whole life. I wasn't a part of that.
You are, most women would have gone to court and tried to get half and got it. And you didn't do that. And I don't know if you remember this, but a couple of weeks after you left, I was in London and we were fighting on the phone, and you implied, I can't remember the exact wording, it was many, many years ago, but you essentially said, like, what am I going to get? How's this going to work? Or something. And I remember really clearly saying to you, I was very, very clear on it. I was like, you have two options. Option one is you can take me to court, try and get half the house, and I will sell the house, take the money out of the bank and burn it live on Facebook and tag you.
God.
Or we can co-parent very nicely forever, and I'll always be there to support you and help out where I can. And you know me better than anyone, and I'm a very loving, caring, generous person, but I'm a man of my word. And I wouldn't just be one of that 1 in 1,000 people that would do that. I would do it. I would chop off my nose to spite my face, and it would be my pleasure if I feel strongly about it.
I know that
And
for
you know
sure.
that.
I think also a huge component is that most women, when they get divorced, truly don't believe that they have what it takes to
make it
land
on
on
their
their
own.
feet.
Yes.
I fundamentally knew that I would be okay. And by the way, this is not, I don't come from a dowry. My parents don't have money. I didn't have a huge savings.
you
Like,
had the confidence.
I just knew I'd land on my feet.
Yeah.
And I didn't need to take your all of your hard work with me, because we had a relationship. It failed. I do believe there are many instances where women are owed half. I didn't feel, for the length of time we were married and for what you brought to the marriage from your own previous life, it was fair for me to take it. I'm not saying that's right for everybody. There are people that
But I do
build
think-
a life together. We didn't build that life together.
No.
You had the house. You had that money before me.
Yeah. And also I think that, just backtracking a little bit, I think that that's a huge reason, is that fundamentally, yes, there was a lot of heartache, a lot of crying, a lot of upset. You know, when a marriage dissolves, it's hard for everyone. It was hard for the kids.
Yeah.
It was hard for you and I. It was hard for our parents. It was hard for everyone.
Yeah.
But not having to fight in court made it a little bit easier for us to move forward.
Well, I think when you're using lawyers, it doesn't become two humans anymore.
It's two
becomes,
companies.
It's an institution.
Yeah,
it's two
100%,
institutions.
100%.
And it takes the human aspect. I think that's actually the whole purpose of the lawyers in the divorce,
Is to make it that way.
because they know if a husband and wife have to talk to each other and look at each other and engage with each other, not using other professionals and outside people, you are forced to have a human interaction with somebody. They take the human aspect out of it and it becomes two lawyers. People don't even talk anymore. They use exclusively lawyers. They do that on purpose. Because if you have to look this person in the eye who you had a family with, who you had children with, and you have to engage with them, I think you're having a different outcome than when you're using lawyers.
I agree. I also think that a lot of time people in their marriages don't speak up and express themselves, and there's a lot of pent-up frustration and anger. You and I had the opposite, which was we constantly screamed and shouted at each other and fought. So there was not really that much resentment at the end. It was what you felt was best for all of us.
Yep.
And looking back on it, I don't wildly disagree. Obviously, it was hard at the time. But I just think that we both left our marriage without enormous amounts of anger or frustration. It was just upset.
Well, I think you were angry.
Well,
I mean,
I went through the stages of loss, right?
Yeah, that's true.
It was like, it was almost like, I remember one time you came over a few weeks after you left, and I was a hot mess, and you came in and were talking to me, and you said, it's not like I've died. I live 3 blocks away. And I've got to be honest, over time, I actually still to this day kind of rely on that. Like, I like the fact that we're not married and that you're now happier and I'm happier. And I think the kids are happier for it as well. But I like the fact that you're still there if I need you. I don't need you and you don't need me. But the fact that there's another, neither of us have our family here.
yeah.
So, and that brings another element to it. Both of our current partners aren't even here. So we both spend a lot of time alone, and there's not like a built-in network. It takes a village. We don't have a village.
No.
So there's a lot of like, I have a meeting. Can you pick up Lila from school?
Yeah.
There's, just having just someone who cares about Lila locally.
Right.
The fact that you're a parent as well is irrelevant. There's a lot of that kind of,
Like we need each other.
I don't think need is the right word, but I think that it helps. It's a community. I look at you now more as like a member of my family than as my ex-wife.
Right.
I don't have to like you, but I do have to love you. Like you're no different to a distant cousin. Like you don't have to like your distant cousin, but you do have to love them.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And
That's true.
and doesn't matter how much you annoy me. You're still Lila's mother, and therefore I have a painful responsibility to make sure you're always all right.
Why do you think so many people are getting divorced more than ever before in the history of histories?
Technology and media. It used to be that you only knew the people in your village that you could see and speak to and have relationships with. And now, in a touch of a button, or even you can just call it into a device, you can see, hear anything you want to, anyone, anywhere in the world. For guys, it becomes very visual, pornographic. And for women, although there's an element of that, it also becomes about fantasy. And you can just type and get whatever you want now.
Do you think also like people are like not just exposed to different people, but like women are, I guess women and men are like exposed to like inside peeks at so many other people's lives?
There's that. And also you can have whatever you want. You can only dream of the six-pack of your future husband. Well, no, you can actually just type it into Google and then you can see the guy who has the best six-pack in the world, and now suddenly your current husband just can't do it for you anymore.
Yeah.
And that goes both ways, not just for physically, but mentally, socially, humor, finances. In every way, you can immediately see, hear, and in some cases touch and feel whatever it is that you want. And that is, to a degree, one of the downsides of technology, right?
You think that's like, you really think that that's the reason that the divorce rates are so high?
100%. Or at least from a male perspective.
Okay.
I can't speak for the female.
I think you might be right on the male perspective.
Well, also, there's a whole world out there now that we never knew. Before there was social media and Google and YouTube, you were kind of fed what the government and the private channels gave you. So you got to watch the Olympics and you could watch Roseanne on a Friday afternoon, right? And now it's whatever your heart desires has been tailor-made for you, which in one hand is amazing from an education standpoint. The rate of technology and movement and all this stuff is through the roof. It's exponential. We're trying to slow it down now. We're trying to slow down ChatGPT and AI. Because it's too scary now.
Yeah, well, there's no guardrails.
That's the upside. The downside is that no one should ever be happy with what they got. You have such an eye for design. I walk around, the homes that you have, and it's beautiful what you do. But then somebody could look at that and go, yeah, and then I'll just Google what, Restoration Hardware has today, and now there's something as nice or different, and then you want that. But there was nothing wrong with what you had.
Yeah.
And it's like that for relationships now. And I think that's the reason why marriage is on the decrease, divorce is on the increase, and generally people are unhappy and pleased with what they got. I even see it in my industry. I put people on beds on planes. They never used to go anywhere. They used to go once a year.
And now they're complaining to you. They're constantly unhappy.
Yeah, I was in Tokyo, but the weather was bad, so I flew to Malaysia. Like, it's no one's happy with anything anymore.
So interesting. Yeah. Right, of course. You must deal with people like never took their family business anywhere. You'll ask them how it went, and they'll have a slew of complaints.
I have clients that spend 50 to 100 grand a year flying them and their families, business class to Israel and back 5 times a year. Then they come see me. I fix them up. Now they're paying $400 taxes for $10,000 flights, and then they complain about the $400 taxes.
Right.
It's like, we're all perpetually unhappy. And as my current girlfriend says, Owen is only happy if he gets to be unhappy. I like to moan about what makes me happy is being unhappy. And I'm very aware of it. If I'm not moaning, I don't see any benefit.
This is a perfect segue.
Yeah.
Dating after divorce.
Yeah, dating after divorce went absolutely berserk immediately.
Okay, just filter yourself a little bit, because this content's out there for our daughter to hear one day.
Yeah.
And
you think she doesn't know that?
No, unfortunately she does. But okay, just
you're asking the question, dating after divorce, and you don't want me to tell the truth?
Okay, tell the truth, but please,
okay. I went berserk for a while, and then slowed down. And I've had over the last you moved out about 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And over the last 8 years, I think I've had maybe 4 or 5 meaningful girlfriends for longer than 6 months a year or whatever. And my view of relationships has evolved. My view of marriage has evolved.
What's your view on marriage now?
I have little to no interest in marriage.
Okay.
Here's the thing, like, what's the difference between a long-term relationship and marriage? If I thought, pre being married to you, that it was the olden version of marriage, like you both sign a ketubah and there's rings and that's it. The two of you live happily ever after through sickness and health. That's not what it is. At any moment, any person can walk away. So therefore, what value do you put on the paper?
Well, people like, okay, just...
You asked a question, let me answer it.
Okay.
Let me answer
But I mean, like, I don't think everybody views marriage like at any moment anyone could walk away. I mean, that's not a
Well,
good
they
way.
should. They should.
I guess you're right, yeah.
They should.
Yeah.
And by the way, your
You're
partner
right.
can walk outside and get hit by a bus.
That's true.
Or they can decide to get on a
In a
bus.
best case
Or they can decide to get on a bus. So, like, here's the thing. I just don't value it.
Right.
I'm not saying that nobody should get married. And I'm not adverse to getting married. I'm not saying I would never get married again. I just don't see any value. It's not something... I remember thinking as a 25-year-old, all right, I need to run around and have loads of girlfriends, make loads of money. I want to get married. I want to have 2 kids. I want to get a house. I want to have a garage. It's like a tick box list of things that I want to achieve in my life. And now that it all got messed up and there is no tick boxes, I feel very differently about it. I have little to no interest in getting married again. If I stay with my current partner or if I have a new partner and I'm with them for many, many, many years, sure. For taxes, I would get married again, but not for any other reason. My rush to get married and have kids has evolved. I'm now too old, in my opinion, to do it all again. I did it with your son from your first marriage, who I still consider my son as well. And I did it with Lila, both with you and then alone for many years, as you did. I don't think I've got it in me to do it again. I can't give a third child. Plus, my current girlfriend has a child as well that I participate.
You're childed out.
It's a lot. I've got 3 kids in 3 different locations.
Yeah.
It's a lot, and I just don't think I can give again. I'm also getting older. I can't do the rolling around on the floor like I used to. Like it's not. It's. I just don't. I just don't think it's in my. I could be wrong. I'm not adverse to it.
Okay.
I just don't see me getting married and having more kids. I can see me being much more. I don't want to use the word fluid because I think that has an implication.
Yeah.
But I'm much more relaxed about being happy. And what makes me happy is the people in my life around me happy, in particular Lila, closely followed by my parents, my immediate family, and my extended family. Like, if you're having a bad day, I'm still going to get hit with it.
Right.
If I'm having a bad day, you're going to still get hit with it.
Sometimes.
Be that right or wrong, it's still like a part of it. So it's important that the extended, my girlfriend, her kid, you, your partner, his kids, our kids, that immediate family all has to be hunky-dory. Otherwise, it's going to hit me in some way. So, and I think a lot of people in divorce don't really truly get, like, they secretly like, oh, I hope they have a terrible day. I hope somebody throws a rock through their car.
Like, they get hit by a bus.
Right. It's like, if you haven't worked out yet that isn't going to help you, you've still got some maturing to do. Like, I genuinely, like, from the bottom of my heart, hope that every day you and your partner have a great day, because that means you'll be a better parent to Lila and our interactions will be smoother and less drama. And I hope you feel the same the other way around. It's like, just,
Yeah, I do.
just be happy.
I get devastated when you break up because I worry. Any just like quick tips that you could give to new singles, either male or female, who have left their marriage and are trying to find love again?
Yes. So trying to find love again.
Yeah, they want to be in a relationship. They want to find their person, or they want to find companionship.
Ask yourself at every moment, are you in this relationship because it replaces your ex? Or are you in this relationship because that person brings value or something to the table? And what you'll find is that 95% of the time, you're just replacing the person that you miss because you're lonely.
So true.
And to a certain degree, that's fine to begin with.
Right.
To get you through it.
Okay.
And then at some point, you have to find the right person. You can't just keep picking the wrong person and hoping it's going to be right. It won't.
Okay.
Even if you find the right person, it probably won't be right. So
No, we need to leave the people hopeful.
yeah, and they should be. They will be. That's just not going to be me who does that. No, I'm joking. Yeah, constantly ask yourself, why are you in this relationship? Is it because you're lonely? You're trying to replace a person? That will eliminate the majority of your pointless relationships that you're having to soothe yourself. That would be my first opening part. And second of all is ask yourself all the time, would you be happier if somebody else was there or not there? My answer was always I'd be happier if somebody else was there, because I now realize I was codependent. Now I'm kind of looking forward to this interview being wrapped up because I want to go and have lunch by myself. My girlfriend's not in town. Lila's at school. I don't know how many calls for like the next hour and a half. I'm looking forward to going to eat sugarfish on my own.
Good choice.
And that's something that I never, ever used to have or be or want or do. I would be embarrassed to go to a restaurant by myself. Now I cannot wait to flick through TikTok and Instagram on my own with headphones on and have great sushi. So value your own time. And people used to say this to me all the time, and I used to think they don't know what they're talking about. You need to love yourself before you can love others. And I think that I never loved myself. I think I had to mature and find out what my purpose was before I could truly love myself. I think I didn't love myself. I didn't love being in paparazzi. I was good at it, but that was because I'm good at whatever I try hard at. I think I needed to change the soul behind what I was trying to do to feel better about being by myself. Maybe that's a bit deep, but...
No, I love it. That's a great way to end. Thank you so much for doing this today. I appreciate you bringing your honesty, your vulnerability. As always, I appreciate the way we show up for each other in our life and for Lila. And I appreciate you. Thanks for doing this.
For shizzle upon one's nizzle.